Hey, it's great to have you here. My name is John Little, and this is the ShockCast for Friday, the 16th of March, 2018. The 311 Tsunami, a warning ignored. Sunday was the 7-year anniversary of 311. 311. That's what we, in East Asia, call the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami of March 11th, 2011. The rest of you think of it as the time when the Fukushima reactors melted down and blew up. However, it's more than a disaster. It's also an allegory of the future, an allegory that we need to pay attention to. Those who do not internalize this warning about the future will be lucky to survive when that future arrives. Why do I say this? Most who died in the 311 tsunami did so because they ignored the warning, or didn't hear it. In March of 2011, my wake-up call was still a month away. Mrs. Little and I were doing our best to serve the Lord by helping teach Bible classes at the universities here in Taipei, and we were wondering about what the Lord would do with us here. Then on that fateful Friday of March 11th, word came of a gigantic earthquake and tsunami. I didn't think much of it other than to be appalled at the loss of life and massive destruction. Then we started hearing about the Fukushima reactor disaster. The Japanese government was trying to keep quiet about what really happened, but eventually the truth came out. When the truth did come out, I checked the direction of the Pacific current to make sure that the radiation was moving away from us. It was, and I was relieved. Then on April 5th, I had my wake-up call, and 7 years of effort has brought us to this moment in time. It's actually several books of effort and one book in actual fact. Some of it a bit too hysterical, some not enough. The question is whether you are ready for what is about to happen. Yes, I know that my warnings, along with warnings of others, don't seem to make sense. After all, you don't actually see any problem. But as someone who has been watching problems for years, I know a thing or two about them. And there's one thing that's common to all of the big ones. When you see them, it's already too late to run. That's where 311 comes in. More accurately, that's where some videos that I stumbled across 5 years ago come in, and stumbling across those videos led me to write this article in August of 2013, Tsunami Warning. And there was one video in particular that captured my attention. It's titled, Japan Tsunami 311 in English from Start to End. It took hours for me to find the person who made the original video. His name is Kenichi Murakami, and I'm disgusted with people who steal videos and don't have the minimal decency of mentioning the original filmmaker. I have yet to figure out the guy who did the subtitles, and you can bet that it's a guy. The subtitles notwithstanding, notice the lack of concern that people have as they listen to the warnings and see the water receding from the river. The police and firemen are doing their best to impress upon the people the danger that is approaching, but they are unconvinced. They cannot imagine it, so they don't believe it. So they died. They had a half of an hour to do something, but they did nothing. The older people who had been through the Chilean tsunami that had hit Japan in 1960 went to higher ground. They knew what was coming. The younger ones did not. So they died. One more thing about the above video. The person who did the subtitles in the first video claims that the earthquake, or the above video, claims that the earthquake was man-made, but it wasn't a natural disaster. I'm sorry, but Jim Stone is a moron. He's either an idiot, a liar, or both. My bet is on both. He's made lots and lots of stupid, quote-unquote, mistakes, and has fed lots of foolish hysteria over the years, and he refuses to acknowledge any of it. The bottom line is this. This could not have been a man-made disaster. The shockwave pattern is too long and too broad. You'll see what I mean in the third video below. Now here is where I found the original videographer for the first video. It's titled Japan Tsunami Caught on Tape, BBC Natural Disasters, Weather Documentary 2016. I just realized that the title of the YouTube version isn't quite... So anyway, the title of the piece is actually Japan's Tsunami Caught on Camera. Now, about the video, notice the guy who did the right thing and got everybody out and up to high ground. His name is Kenji Sato. He was basically just a baker, but he knew what was coming. His warning saved the lives of all who paid attention to him. Those who listened to Kenji Sato lived. Those who did not died. There were other stories, and some of the footage in this piece in that video is surprising, shocking even. And there's one man in this story that should not have survived. There is footage that shows how deafness caused them to die. Notice something else. All of these people had profound regret over not doing more to warn those who weren't listening. They feel guilt over not doing more. They shouldn't feel guilt. They did their best. Most of who died were ignoring the warnings anyway, and they only had half of an hour to act. We have more than half of an hour to act. So I hope that you are doing everything that you can to warn those around you. One day, if you survive, you will stand in the same shoes as these men and women and wish that you had done more. That's one of the reasons why I've been doing this for 7 years. I want to be able to say that I did my very best to get the warning out to make sure that all who would listen would have the opportunity to prepare. Gog and Magog is very close, and with it comes Ezekiel's fire. I've been hoping that I'm wrong about Ezekiel's fire, but no one has been able to offer proof that I am. So I need to ask you, are you able to live without electricity? Gog and Magog might come as soon as next year. It could even come this year, but I seriously doubt it. But a year is a very, very short time to be ready. Are you ready? Yes, what I'm talking about is unimaginable, but so was the tsunami that took 24,000 lives and destroyed towns and cities up and down the northeast coast of Japan. Don't let your lack of imagination keep you from being ready for a level of horror that will shake your soul. Then there's another video that's also well worth your time. It's titled PBS Nova, Surviving the Japanese Tsunami, HD. The original is on the pbs.org website. My tax dollars paid for it, but I couldn't watch it here in Taiwan. Those of you outside of the U.S. will need to watch the YouTube version. Those in the U.S. will get to use the original link. This video also deals with personal stories, but it also gets into some of the science around the quake. What you'll also see is the miraculous at work. Several people just happened to be in the right place at the right time to save themselves and others. So there are miracles in this video that should give some hope to those of you who don't have very much. One of those miracles happened when people were expecting the tsunami to come sooner. When it didn't, they went downstairs to the gym. Because they let their guard down, they almost died, except for one woman who just happened to be at the right place at the right time to give warning, saving them all at the very last minute. Just because the catastrophe is taking a bit longer than expected should not cause you to ignore the danger that you are in. What is coming will destroy our world as we know it. Thinking that it won't come because it's taking longer than you thought, well, that's a recipe for an early grave. Those who couldn't wait for the danger to pass would have died, except for a miracle. But don't expect the miraculous to save you if you neglect the warnings that are ringing in your ears. Then there's a third video. It's in Japanese, and so I can't read it. But the English part of it is Japan Tsunami 2011 Kamaishi. There are no subtitles. There's no English dialogue. But there's plenty of poignant video. And there are those in this video who clearly didn't make it because they didn't treat the warnings seriously. Please, do not make the same mistake. What is coming will shake your soul to the core. I've been yelling about this for a long time, and I know that many are tired of hearing it. I wasn't expecting the tsunami to take this long, but I'm glad that it did. Will the tsunami hit us next year? We'll see. I will certainly be tracking it as faithfully as I can, but Google, Microsoft, and others are doing their best to take Omega Shock down. And if their efforts keep escalating, as they have been, they will succeed. Hopefully by the time that this website is silenced, it won't matter. Will you be ready when the tsunami hits? Now, as a special note, Hotmail and Outlook, as in Outlook.com, are blocking Omega Shock and the Shock Letter email servers. I will be doing my best to get them to remove the block, but until then, you might have trouble hearing from me via email. The good thing is that you can still find me here. Now on to the articles that I found over the past week. The first one comes from Big John. He shared 3 links, and this one here was the one that struck me the hardest. It's titled, "In Pamela Geller Attack, Taylor Lorenz and Media Are Stupid and Evil," by Caroline Glick. But let me share what Big John said. "It's not hard to see why the West will lose World War III. They've already lost. Rank stupidity or deliberate? Clearly the latter. What a joke the West has become with a cowed, biblically illiterate population that has given up everything their forebears fought for." Big John's comment puzzled me just a bit until I read the first of the 3 links that he shared. This one, the one we're talking about here. How utterly horrifying. Big John actually didn't give it, well, he said it very well. But I am just outraged. How utterly sick and twisted. What an abomination. Let me share some quotes from this article by Caroline Glick. The first one is, "The mainstream media are either stupid or evil or both." I'm afraid that I'm with Big John on this one. They are definitely evil. Yes, they are stupid, but only as a result of being so evil. Evil is stupid by definition. Here's the next quote. "For more than a decade, the media and leftist shock troops operating in lockstep with Islamist groups like the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, have tried to destroy Geller. The radical leftist defamation outfit, the Southern Poverty Law Center, branded Geller and her websites and associated organizations a hate group. As the SPLC's then spokesman Mark Potok said in speeches in 2007 and 2008, the SPLC doesn't identify groups and individuals as hate groups because they are engaged in the propagation of hatred and the incitement of illegal activities. In his words, quote, "Our criteria for a hate group has nothing to do with criminality or violence or any kind of guess we're making about this group could be dangerous. It's strictly ideological." Potok explained that the SPLC isn't concerned with monitoring hate groups. Rather, our aim in life is to destroy these groups, completely destroy them. Close quote. That is not just the truth. That is the horrifying and shocking reality of anyone who describes the truth about Islam. How is it possible for the left to blindly support a religion that is even more restrictive than Christianity? I'm amazed that they would label Christianity as misogynist, while Islam literally claims that a woman is worth only half of a man. How utterly amazing. But then Caroline Glick also says this, quote, "Over the past year, the social media giants have gone to war against her. Pamela Geller. Facebook and YouTube have decommercialized her pages and erased her videos. Google AdSense banned her. Google scrubbed her website from its search engine. PayPal temporarily closed her account. And yes, Google is also scrubbing my website from its search engine. This is actually happening to Megashock. Email is being blocked and articles are being delisted. They just haven't gone as far as they have with Pamela Geller. But let's get back to this attack upon Pamela's precious daughters. Quote, Lorenz wasn't interested in beating what she clearly considers a dead horse. She wanted to destroy Geller's daughters specifically. If doing so also puts their lives in danger, well, that's their problem. As far as Lorenz and her comrades at the Daily Beast, the Washington Post, and all the rest are concerned, Lorenz is convinced that Geller's daughters should be destroyed because they do not hate their mother. Indeed, they love her. And as they love her, they have had the gall to become successful in their own right. Close quote. Pamela's children had the gall to be successful with their own show, The Morning Breath. But they lost all that because of this sick and twisted attack. Then Ms. Glick ends her article with this, quote, As for her children, as far as the media are concerned, they have no right to work and no right to be protected from murder because they love their mother. Stupid and evil, but mainly evil. Originally published at Breitbart.com. Close quote. If you do not already believe that America deserves the judgment that God is about to rain down upon her, this should help convince you. Taylor Lorenz will get away with this outrage unless others stand up against it. So if you wish to push back and prove that America is not deserving of judgment, do your part and let Taylor Lorenz know what you think. Here is Taylor Lorenz's email address, Taylor, Taylor .Lorenz, Lorenz, at thedailybeast.com. It's an official address published by the Daily Beast itself, so you should not worry about attacking her privacy, as if she extended the same consideration for Pamela Geller and her daughters. In fact, I have sent an email to this account where I said the following, subject line, on your article about the daughters of Pamela Geller. Dear Taylor, your article about the daughters of Pamela Geller was an example of extreme cowardice as well as a horrendous attack upon the innocent. You display a darkness that is incomprehensible to those of us who are seeking to be decent and honorable. And you display the same spineless enfeebleness of your position. Your ideology cannot survive on the battlefield of ideas, so you resort to the craven attacks upon the innocent. Should Pamela and her daughters do the same to you? Should she expose your children, your loved ones, and your parents to the same abuse that you have meted out to her? Will you howl in outrage if you receive the same justice that you have given Pamela and her children? You prove yourself to be inhumane, hypocritical, and obscene. Do you have the decency to be ashamed of yourself? Sincerely, John Little. I made a typo in the above. Did you spot it? Very annoying. Send your own email and let this foul individual to this foul individual and let her know that she is a coward and not fit for her profession. The next one is another interesting one. It's the tyranny of shaming American race wars as seen by an immigrant. This is the second of the links that Big John shared. Noni Darwish is an awesome woman who escaped Islam to become a Christian. She fled to the U.S., created a life for herself, and wrote this article of important observations as an immigrant to America. Here is the summary of what she wrote. In the first paragraph, quote, the bias of many Americans against American values has blinded them from seeing the reasons we immigrants went through hell to come to this country. Many Americans believe that those who criticize the culture from which we escaped must be Islamophobic. They seem not to understand why we would never again want to see what we have gone through so much to escape from. The next paragraph, summary. Such attacks on the white majority in Americans are bluntly racist. It is a shame that so many Americans are unable or refuse to see what many immigrants see, that it was under this white majority that millions of oppressed people, of all colors and creeds, from around the world were rescued from tyranny, Sharia law, slavery, discrimination, Islamism, and a miserable existence under corrupt, war-torn, and famine-stricken nations. Instead, many seem to want to bring all that here. And then the third summary paragraph. We watched American freedoms as a dream. To be able to smile back at a man who opened the door for you without accusations of being a loose woman for smiling. To be able to wear what you want, go out when you want, work or get an education or not, and venture to hope one day to live under a system that respects monogamy and equal rights for women and minorities. Yes, it is the American culture where whites are the majority. No problem with that. That made our dreams come true. Despite its shortcomings, no other country in the world offers its citizens the chance to be whatever they would like. We might never get back what we already have. Read the rest of the article. Her view as an immigrant from Egypt is a valuable antidote to the insanity of the left. And thank you, Big John, for 3 excellent links. Stay safe, brother. The next bit is titled Clinton Charity Fraud, Biggest Scandal in U.S. History. Kevin Shipp. And it's from Greg Hunter's USA Watchdog. This paragraph is what bothers me deeply. And this is from the write-up to the interview. In closing, Shipp contends there could be a constitutional crisis in that we could see congressmen, senators, former directors of the FBI, and the CIA perp-walked after they received charges. Could you imagine if senior DOJ officials were arrested? Some congressmen and senators were arrested, and other government officials were arrested on charges and walked out of office? That's the constitutional crisis I am talking about. Those kind of high-level arrests would shake up this nation. It would be huge. And that's why it has taken so long and methodical in doing this. Close quote. Yes, we will applaud the destruction of those who have engaged in terrible corruption. But I do not believe that we are ready for the crisis that he is talking about. Here's the next one, a YouTube video. The truth about broken Britain. This is sickening. No, it's worse than that. It's beyond insane. And by the way, there's a language alert for this video. But it's hard to blame Paul Joseph Watson for using foul language. I'm this close to using it myself. It really is beyond my ability to comprehend this incredible disparity. Terrorists and murderers are let in. But 3 people who want to give a speech or interview people about the insanity of letting in terrorists are not let in. When will the British people wake up? Rise of violent Buddhist rhetoric in Asia defies stereotypes. I was going to put that link further down, but this article is an example of lying from start to finish. So I need to feature it a bit more prominently as an example of the lying that goes on in the press. The Buddhists did not start this conflict. They are merely responding to the attacks that the Muslims have been making against the Buddhists. As has always been the case, whenever a Muslim minority reaches 10%, they start attacking the people around them. This happens everywhere, and it happened in Myanmar, which is why the Buddhists have been responding to the attacks. Yet the dirtbags at this French news agency, Agence France-Presse, are lying through their teeth by portraying the Muslims as the victims. And if you need to know, AFP has also spent a huge amount of time lying about Israel. AFP is disgusting and has always been disgusting. Jerome Taylor, you are a dirtbag. The Great Deception, Strong Delusion. Are you ready for it? a YouTube video. And this is from A Minute to Midnight. Matt and Tony got together to talk about one of the great mysteries of the last days. And it's from Matthew 24:24. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. That amount of deception boggles the mind. Worse, it is frightening. How do we answer such deception? With utter devotion to God and the words of the Bible and the truth that is in it. But are you reading the Bible? All of it? Cover to cover? If not, now is the time to get started. You won't understand all of it, but you need to do it. Understanding will come as you submit to the truth. But this great deception that Jesus is talking about is hard to understand, and I think we've all been struggling to figure out what it is. Well done, Matt and Tony. Here's another video from YouTube. You won't hear this message on the news. And this is from On Point Preparedness, I believe. Some of you will know what this video is talking about, how Satanism is in popular music. Now, a lot of it isn't as obvious as it is described here, but it is still there. It took a while for me to realize that for myself. It wasn't the music itself. That was just a delivery mechanism. No, it was the lyrics, the words. The words were programming me to believe something that just wasn't true. Or I should say, they were trying, I thank God, that I was protected from my own ignorance and foolishness. No, I wasn't listening to Led Zeppelin or AC/DC, but I was still allowing myself to be programmed. And that programming came very close to capturing me. Very close. Once I realized what was happening, I took all of my secular music and destroyed them. And I made sure that no one could fish my CDs out of the trash and listen to them. And like the pastor that was speaking, I too have some pretty awful songs that I enjoy way too much, that I will not listen to. Oh, I'm sorry, this was not an On Point Preparedness piece. Please, get rid of those things that are programming you and your children with destruction. Never give Satan even half of a chance. This is interesting. It's a bombshell. It's titled "Bombshell Report: Vegas Massacre Was Everything We Thought and More." So, there was more to this shooting than met the eye. Paddock was a patsy. And this was a part of a much larger civil war / insurrection within the United States, with the deep state in partnership with Antifa and other insurrectionists. This is a very deep and tangled web, and sickening. Here's another one. This is about what's going on in South Africa. It's titled Ramaphosa's Racist Marxist Distraction in South Africa. When corrupt rulers seize power, they often attempt to rally support for their actions by proposing something that they believe will be popular with the rabble. During the French Revolution, they executed the wealthy. During the Russian Revolution, they executed the wealthy. During the Chinese Revolution, they executed the wealthy. Okay, you get the point. But there has also been a racist undertone to all of this. When someone is seemingly wealthy and of a different race, well, it's easy to kill that person and steal what they have. Just look at what people have been doing to the Jews for thousands of years. Pray for our brothers and sisters in South Africa. Genocide has arrived, and it will only get worse. And this is an interesting update, which is a relief. Australia considers emergency visas for white South African farmers. And that's from the New York Times. And it's really awesome news for the white farmers of South Africa. God bless Australia for doing this. But keep praying. They are not out of the woods yet. Now this one This next one is called UK Gas Crisis, Out of the Frying Pan into the Fire, and it's an oilprice.com article. This is a big deal, and it has everything to do with Gog and Magog. Britain has a serious natural gas problem and a serious oil problem. They don't have enough of both, so they are importing natural gas for heat. The problem is that their main sources of natural gas can't give them enough for cheap enough. And now they are in a diplomatic row over the Russian assassination of an ex-spy and their attempted assassination of another ex-spy. And this winter has been brutally cold. What will happen next winter? Where will they get their natural gas from, as next winter will be colder than this one? Why, Israel, of course. The problem is that Russia doesn't like competition, and they tend to assassinate their competition whenever they can. Unfortunately, this means Gog and Magog. Will it happen this year? No, or at least not unless a miracle happens, with all of the pieces falling into place at once. Miracles do happen, but they are not something that you can normally predict, and it would take General Haftar's army to be magically transported into Syria, along with the army of Somalia and/or Ethiopia, and none of that is going to happen. So, scratch this year. But next year could get interesting if Russia sees the Israeli threat to their natural gas exports soon enough and big enough. We should also see the Turkish upset over gas drilling around Cyprus get bigger and bigger and positively huge. It'll be huge, believe me. Everyone will get tired of it. Sorry. Why should this be important to you? Because it means that Ezekiel's fire is just around the corner. It could be next year. It could be the year after. Are you able to live without electricity? And believe me, without electricity, you will not have water pouring out of your water tap. You will not have refrigeration. 90% of America, and who knows whatever else of the world that requires electricity, will die. Make sure that you can live without electricity. Either that or prove me wrong about Ezekiel's fire, which I would love for you to do. Now here's another one that points to the natural gas issue. It's titled GMB. Spy scandal Spy scandal shows we can't rely on Russia for gas. Here is more on the UK gas problem with the discussion about the Russian problem. Now, Russia has a pipeline connection with Britain, which means that Britain has a problem. Russian gas is probably cheaper than LNG, liquefied natural gas. But it's also politically more expensive. Now, I picked up this bit of news from a different article from thesun.co.uk. But The Sun loves to feature naked pictures in the right-hand sidebar, and I refuse to give any space to pornography. Of all this somewhat mainstream newspapers in Britain, The Sun is the worst, followed by the Daily Mail. I'm sorry, but I will do my very best to boycott disgusting dirtbags. I can't always do that, but I will always try. And now for some even darker news. It's an article titled Turkish Daily Calls to Form Muslim Army Against Israel. It's a MEMRI, M-E-M-R-I publication. Chris from Poland shared this, and I should put this in the Gog and Magog section, but it's way too important, so I put it right close to the top. And you need to pay careful attention to this. Here's the intro. Quote, on December 12, 2017, ahead of the summit of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation in Istanbul, the Turkish daily Yeni Safak, which is close to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who I sometimes refer to as Oink Erdogan, and his ruling AKP party, published an article titled A Call for Urgent Action, which also appeared on the paper's website under the title, What if an Army of Islam was formed against Israel? The article called on the 57 member states of the OIC to form a joint army of Islam to besiege and attack the state of Israel. It notes that such a joint army will greatly exceed the Israeli army in manpower, equipment, and budget, and presents tactics, or I should say, and presents statistics to prove this. It also advocates establishing joint bases for the Army's ground, air, and naval forces that will arrive from all over the Muslim world to besiege Israel, while noting that Pakistan, as the only nuclear country, has a special status among the OIC countries. An interactive map provides information on military forces stationed in various locations and the role they can play in the potential joint Muslim attack on Israel. Close quote. I provide a link to the map, and the map follows with an infographic comparing OIC countries with Israel. OIC defense budget, $174 million. Should be billion, sorry. $174 billion. Israel, $15.6 billion. Population of OIC, 1.6 billion people. Israel, 8 million people. Okay, sorry. I'm having to compare. Soldiers of the OIC, 5.2 million people. Israel, 160,000. Interesting, right? Talk about David and Goliath. You will notice that it includes all the countries of the Gog and Magog alliance, plus the Arab countries, which are not in the Gog and Magog alliance. However, it does not include Russia. Russia would be sitting in the background as a guard, just as the Bible describes. Are you paying attention to this? Gigantic thanks to Chris for this heads up. I would have missed it if he hadn't shared it. God bless you, brother. Here's another one. Lauren Solomon, the real reason for Trump's steel tariffs. He's preparing for war. From the Financial Post. I'm afraid that this makes sense and would have eventually happened no matter who was president. Revitalizing the steel industry will take time, and I'm not sure that America has the time that she needs. They say that trade wars precede shooting wars, but people forget that trade wars often occur in preparation for shooting wars. All I can say is God help us all. Well, here's one called School Daze, as in D-A-Z-E, from Zero Hedge. When parents no longer discipline their brats, the schools must live with the results. And when the brats grow up to take over the reins of power, they demand that their fatherless children be uncontrolled. Last month, I profiled a Facebook post by Kelly Guthrie Rayleigh, a teacher who had put her finger on the problem with America's schools. And I introduced a term that is as accurate as it is repugnant. Bastard. America has become a nation of bastards, and I don't know what it will take to turn America around. How utterly horrifying. And then, for my last, I must add something that really weighs upon my heart. I'm really sorry. It's from Walid Shoibat's son, Theodore. And of course, Walid and Theodore are in alignment with all of this. It's titled Protestantism Destroyed Europe. Julie shared this from the comments section, and it's a terrible sign. This is proof that Walid Shoibat and his son Theodore have truly gone off the rails. He didn't start out Catholic when he became a Christian, but he has now ended up Catholic. What a horrible thing to see. I don't know who got to them, but it is clear that they have both been fed lies. Do not support Walid or Theodore Shoibat. If you do, you will share in the judgment that all false teachers suffer. Well, this has been the ShockCast for Friday, March 16th, 2018. My hope is that you will take to heart the warning of 3:11. How many in those videos did not pay attention to the warning or did not hear the warning? and died because of it. My hope is that you will not suffer the same fate that they suffered. God bless you all, and have a great weekend.